let's take a break here. And what I'd like to do is talk to you a little bit about the concept of behaviorism. And you're probably wondering why to bring my little friend out here when I'm talking about behaviorism. Well, the thing is, I'll guarantee you that a bunch of you, when you saw the chainsaw and me holding that thing there, you associate it with movies like American Psycho, when Christian Bale's chasing people around with a chainsaw. Or, what's that other one? The Texas Chainsaw Massacre and stuff like that. Well, the reason that you thought about those movies can be attributed to the theories of B.F. Skinner when it comes to the concept of association and behaviorism. You see, the thing is, this chainsaw is just a tool. And if you were to show this chainsaw maybe to someone who was, I don't know, 70 years old, who's never seen any of those movies, he would associate the chainsaw with cutting up wood and getting firewood ready for the winter. He wouldn't get those like, ah, feelings, because he's not put the two together, the chainsaw and sawing innocent young people in half. So, you see, here's the way Skinner's theories work. Skinner believed that the human brain is kind of like a computer, but maybe even a little bit simpler. And the thing is that whether you're talking about the brain of a jellyfish, whatever it has, the brain of a cat, rat, pigeon, or human, they're all based on one concept, and that is that it's seeking pleasure versus pain. So a cat, if it's really cold and rainy outside, will want to come inside. A pigeon that wants to have food can be trained to peck at a bright light, maybe 3 or 4 times, and it gets a food pellet. Well, the thing is, the same thing works with human beings, according to Skinner. Skinner believed that all of what we are is basically learning, and it's through a process called shaping. That when we're little, we do things that bring us pleasure or make us feel good. And then we start associating those things with other external stimuli in the environment, things that causes us to have a reaction. And then we respond to those stimuli. And then the outside influences, such as your mother or father or friends or your teacher, they will reward or punish you according to your response. And through this complex interplay of stimulus, response, reinforcer, then a more refined response to a stimulus, that is how we learn everything from how to walk, how to talk, how to do complex math, write poetry, or play a musical instrument. Now, the thing is, Skinner goes a little bit deeper, of course, than that. He believes, for instance, that often negative behavior can be created by stimulus being associated with something that really doesn't have anything to do with it. Now, let me give you an example. Remember Chainsaw, American Psycho, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Well, let's say you're an athlete and you skipped washing your socks and underwear after a game, and then the next game you had to put them on, and you won that game. You performed greatly. You made a goal in soccer or a touchdown in football. And then you're thinking, wait a minute, that was the first time I ever made a goal or a touchdown during a major game. Maybe, I wonder if the fact that I didn't wash my underwear and socks could have had something to do with it. And then you skip. Again, another game. You wear the same socks and underwear without washing them. And you make another field goal or whatever, or touchdown. And then it happens over and over again. Well, suddenly you're believing that that stimulus that actually, had nothing to do with anything, that event, I should say, of not washing your clothes could in some way be responsible for the fact that you won the game. So therefore, you start believing this. It becomes a superstition. And this can explain lots of behavior, from discrimination against people, prejudice, superstition, and phobias. Now let's think about phobias here. It's the wrong time of year to bring out a big, fat, hairy spider, because I know I get reactions from people. But you see, you know how Carl Jung, we talked about him earlier, he was sort of into the idea that the spider represents like a shadow energy that's in our collective unconsciousness. It's an archetype. Freud believed maybe you're scared of spiders because the way they envelop their prey reminded you of the way maybe your mother enveloped you and didn't let you expand as a human being. Well, Skinner doesn't go into that. In fact, behaviorism doesn't really even look at the concept of the mind per se. Instead, Skinner would say the reason you're scared of spiders is because maybe when you were younger, your mom screamed about this big old fat spider in the shower and Dad had to come in and smack it with a newspaper or something. Or maybe you were sitting out in the yard and you were noticing this really cute little butterfly flopping along, and it gets caught in a spider's web, and you just sit there and watch, and then this big old spider comes down and starts eating it. And then that caused you to get this kind of panic, and now you hate spiders, and so now you see spiders like, ah! You don't want that spider around you anymore. You have a phobia. So essentially, the behaviorist is not really concerned with finding out what your relationship was with your mother. The behaviorist is not concerned with finding out what kind of spiritual, psycho-spiritual connections you have to ancient civilizations and so forth. The behaviorist is just going to say, how do we cure this person from being scared of spiders? And let's associate maybe neutral or good things with spiders. That could be either teaching a person how spiders protect crops from insects from being destroyed, or maybe if that doesn't work, you use what's called systematic desensitization, where every day you bring a spider closer and closer. It's in a nice safe jar, can't get out and get you. Put it in a jar, get a little closer, a little closer. Pretty soon it's sitting on the dinner table while you're eating. This person that used to freak out whenever they'd even hear the word spider is suddenly kind of getting used to it. They're starting to get okay with the spider, and realizing that, hey, it's not going to suddenly undo the lid, jump out and bite me and devour me like they did the butterfly. So this is the way that behaviorists